in a Rus mirror. Well, Eric, if there was any place to prove that it was just a Civ mismatch last game, it would be here. Dry Arabia Rus mirror matchup against the #1, #2 seed player in the game. That's right, Beastie having first and second on the leaderboard right now. Eric, show us what you're made of. Definitely no pushover, definitely a guy of ideas, but maybe a guy who needs to adapt or evolve those ideas further. We just saw him play HRE versus Mongols, and it was a tough one. It's very difficult to actually kind of screw with the HRE's timings right now, and it definitely felt like Eric didn't get the opportunity. But in a mirror matchup, this is where things get a little bit more balanced. Small differences can make the mile, and first thing I'm going to be checking is if someone got screwed on the spawn. I actually would say that Beastie got a slightly better spawn. Yeah, Eric does have a more defendable location. That's his upside, right? He's got easily wallable areas here, but notice the gold situation. He's a lot more spread on his gold with it forward of his base. Meanwhile, Beastie got the triple backstack in the gold veins. This is going to be a very comfortable area. Don't be surprised if Beastie plays a TC down over here. There's deer, wood, and gold in reserve. This is a very defendable start for both players. So then, if it's a defendable start, you start to get into the curious question, will someone go knights a little bit too fast before doing the scouting? I don't think so. First of all, both of these players are going to be targeting a quick tech up. Then they might be targeting that boar. Because the boar is situated between the two. There is a slight edge given over to Eric, though, so I'd expect him to be more likely to make the play. But in the meantime, you need to get enough bounty to enable you there. And Eric is off to a decent start here, being up at 55 bounty. BC not really stopping off at any deer so far, just trying to pick up as many little wolfskis as he can find. So far, it looks like he has only found 3. Meanwhile, Eric, I think he matched that count. Okay, he's at 2. There's the 3rd he's found now. So Eric definitely ahead. Beastie hasn't sniped his back spawn yet. It looks like Eric is going to move over just in time to intercept this and be a frustration. So with good micro, Eric could definitely start to take the lead in this area. And the goal here, especially with the spawn he got, is a quick wheelbarrow into the Golden Gate and then a pull towards the boar. I think the boar is way too valuable to pass up for him here. It's much closer to him than it is to Beastie. He might be a little bit threatened by the concept of knights in this matchup, but the cool thing about playing boar here is if your opponent does go knights, he's kind of shown his hand a bit too early. Because we talked about the defensibility of these locations. You can see how very easily wallable they are. So worst case scenario, if Eric starts to see an amassment of knights, stick down the 4 or 5 palisade walls, and then just prioritize a proxy base around the boar with spears and archers to push into Beastie's base. And Eric looking damn good here. He did get some interception done there. You can see it's 185 to 270. In fact, Eric looks like he could very easily cruise 310 at this rate with the amount of sheep he has in reserve, especially if he finds one more wolfski around here. He'll yoink a few sheep from close to Beastie's base, and looks like Beastie definitely got the bum side of this deal. So now, Beastie... Wow, he actually went up to 4 scouts as well. This doesn't feel good. By the looks of it, maybe Beastie thought he was going to lose his scout. Unless he's going pro scouts, this doesn't make much sense. He's going for wheelbarrow, so we could see that pull coming out from him. The build-up... What? But... Eric? He went Kremlin. I am speechless. Which, if you've ever heard how much I blabber on, is very rare. I see no reason for this Kremlin. And Beastie is going to see an easy win if he spots this. I'm trying to think what Eric's thought process is here. He's saving 175 wood and that's it. This Kremlin isn't really needed for defense. You could basically just build a wall here instead. It'd be better. This is what I expected to see. A Golden Gate. BC has all the options available to him now. This is a really big deal, especially in a mirror matchup. You really have to hone in on what this just is. Eric saved 175 wood, but sacrificed his long-term trade. Within 4 minutes, BC's choice will be better than Eric's. Because at that point, you would have traded to a positive value of 200 extra resources off of 4 tickets as Beastie. And at the same time, you now already have flexibility that Eric does not. Eric makes this choice for the Kremlin. He now has to go on gold. And if he wants to go TCs, he has to go on stone. Beastie right now, because he went for the Golden Gate, well, if he wants to go for a TC, doesn't need to go on stone. If he wants to just push 2 or 3 knights to begin with, doesn't need to rush gold. Instead, he's going to rush the ball play because that's the other element that easily opens up for him. I am very shocked by this choice by Eric. I would have expected a Kremlin play onto the ball. If you were going to do Kremlin in any situation, that would be why. But I think what got him here, what he got baited into, is that he wants this wooden influence, right? Otherwise, he still has to go back for the 175 wood, and it just feels terrible. But right now, this kind of looks terrible. I'm hoping Eric has got some very innovative build in mind and is going to make me look like an idiot. Because I prefer looking like a fool to this just looking like a wash. Eric, a little bit ambitious there, moving in on the scout. Oh, he can't even get the final strike out. Yeah, BC's micro on point here. It's going to get the grab on the ball. And the stables has been built, but Eric is behind. Notice BC already got his first night out. Eric, in the meantime, had to waste time building the stables next to the mining camp. By the way, that mining camp wasn't there to begin with, remember, because the Rus, they just get the bounty. They don't actually have to go on to the gold to start with. Means he's behind. A nice pinch there by Beastie, punishing Eric for getting a little bit gluttonous around this area. And you will now see the Wooded Fortress going up. Does take a minute to build. However, with the knight advantage to Beastie, it's going to be very difficult for Eric to turn the screws. He might find himself reacting with his first knights. And, well, this is the gift that keeps on giving. I'm just not sure who is gifting to, Beastie or Eric in this situation. It makes sense what he's done here, actually. So consider this. Eric got limited sheep, as you can see. But on top of that, because he went for the Kremlin straight away, he saved 175 wood and actually started getting an extra 20% wood earlier than you would with the Golden Gate build. So the logic here, the value to be found, is that you can immediately go farms. Downside here, however, is these farms don't fare well compared to deer or sheep. The only upside that Eric gets from going for these farms is that now he keeps a super condensed eco. It means that his knights can prowl aggressively. Beasties might not be able to. Beastie might be forced to react midfield because he's going for a little bit more of a loose spawn, right? Like, he hasn't switched farms. He has got plenty of sheep. But afterwards, I would expect Beastie to extend out to either the north or south side for more deer. Problem of this for Eric is, like, it should be an exploitable area. But one, you're up against the Rus, so the outposts have room for 8 villagers at a time, which is usually how many people you'll pull to these pockets. The other problem is you're playing against a Rus player with the Golden Gate. And what that means is that he can actually bind to the stone, and it can be a TC that he drops on these food extensions. And I'm expecting it to definitely be back here behind him. He could easily wall this off, though. The alternative is that Beastie just walls here with Palisades and then drops a TC north side to kind of extend his map control. For now, play over on the board. Nice snipe there by Eric. Gets a little bit of bounty in the pocket for himself. And a knight fight underway. Beastie mainly just kiting and tanking with scouts right now. One knight to the 2. The second one coming in. A little bit of ambush factor coming in. Nice pull there by Beastie towards the Stealth Forest. Gives him the edge and pulls the knight away, but not before the final clip comes out. Oh, but this is just a bad fight. I mean, Eric shouldn't be taking this anymore. He's getting baited on the wrong targets as well. Good micro out of Beastie. He lured him in. Good usage of the Stealth Forest. Like, I always am pleading with people to get better at doing this. You know, not necessarily the pro-level players they already know, but, like, you know, if you want a tip on an area to improve, one very unique mechanic to this game that isn't there in the other Age of Empires in a similar way is the Stealth Forests. Stealth Forests are great, especially when you're cycle charging knights, because you can maintain vision while your opponent doesn't have it. And if your opponent loses vision, he'll lose the charge. So you can then actually brunt him into a sword fight without him getting the Lancer attack off, and then you can get the edge with your own knights getting the pinch. Speaking of pinch, nice move there. Eric has switched into Spearman. We saw him build the racks, but he's starting to move out. However, look what's happening from Beastie. It's going to be a double ball play. And Eric didn't notice this at all. Beastie's already ready for the tech up. Here it comes. It's going to be the Abbey of Trinity. And expect him to go back for the secondary TC after that. But this is problematic for Eric. Eric is trailing behind by a notable margin here. He set up the farms, yes, but not much else. And I just look at Eric's base, and it feels like he came from AoE 2 recently. You know, this is kind of your classic farm play. We saw it in the early days of AoE 4 from a lot of people. Most people you don't see it from anymore. Not because it's not an optimal layout per se. It's because people don't go farms this early. So by the time they're going for farms, most of the time you're going to have your villagers out away from your TC, and you want to keep them optimal. And if they have to run back to the TC to build around it, it doesn't work out that way. Not to mention the fact that usually, by the time you are transitioning to farms, the layout of your base leaves limited room for farms next to your TC. You maybe get 2 or 3, maybe 4 max. As you can see with Beastie's layout, there's going to be barely any room here. The logic is that you play this condensed style so you can actually be more greedy. You don't have to extend out and protect an area per se much earlier on. And that's the upside. We'll just have to see what the upside is going to be for Eric, as once again, another interesting iteration here. He's gone for the high trade house. I don't think it was even the best one. He could have went further out, but I guess he didn't want the risks associated with it. He wanted to play it safe and tight. This is kind of the one of the issues. Before anyone like criticizes Eric, like, "Dude, this is a 300 gold high trade house. What a noob." Like, no, chill. Think about this logically. If he walks out here, it's double the distance to go build it up, and it's not safe. The issue for Eric right now is he has a limited amount of knights, and he's prowling with them. He only has 2 in the field. He would struggle to guard this if BC discovered it. That's why he's doing a protective high trade house. Another detail here to keep in mind is he's leaving room for farms everywhere. And a high trade house is a food drop-off point. So what he's going to do now is the next step is to build farms around this high trade house. He's trying to optimize his farm transition by getting rid of the 100 wood entry barrier for each hunting cabin required per 8 farms. It's an interesting idea, actually. I still disagree with the Kremlin choice compared to Golden Gate. But if he feels like he can't get relics, this is a really cool usage for the high trade house. One key concern I do have for Eric, by the way, that's the reason why we don't see these early farm transitions, is like the theory is that you have safe eco and Beastie doesn't. So you can go and snipe his eco, right? The problem with this theory is it doesn't play out in practice the way you'd think. Because what's happened here is you've spent 75 wood per farm and Beastie hasn't. So the whole logic that I'll have more troops to gank with doesn't hold true because Beastie's the one making bigger savings. When he goes to these deer sites or these sheep and these berries and these boars, he's delaying his transition. Sure, he's spending, 275 wood for this. But 275 wood to cover 8 villages for the inflated rates on the gathering you're going to get compared to farms is very much worth it for Beastie. That's why if we look at the military count right now, you can see Eric doesn't have a lead. In fact, I'm pretty sure Beastie, yeah, he's going hard now into the horse archers. This is going to be problematic. As it stands, Eric does not have a counter. He's prepping crossbows, but crossbows might struggle against this. I think the issue here is it looks like Eric wasn't scouting anymore. Yeah, he went completely condensed. Look at the vision on the map. He doesn't know what he's facing. And that's exactly why he's gone for crossbows. Now, I've said it before, and I stand by it. I think crossbows do okay against horse archers. But the reason I have said that in the past is because usually in this mirror matchup, when you go crossbows, it's because you're threatened by knights appearing as well. If you're only against horse archers, it's 100% better just get archers. They're a more cost-efficient unit. And although the damage is lower, the attack speed is quicker. And I know some people are now going to pick that apart, right? Like, what about the archer damage? The archer damage is low, very low compared to crossbows. The attack speed is, like, at a point where it should be similar damage, right? Yes, but the variable you have to consider is you're talking about a range-on-range battle. So the actual other element that matters is you're paying a 50% premium for a unit that has the same amount of health and about the same amount of DPS against horse archers. You want the health more. The only reason you do crossbows is because of this blind AoE he's playing where he cannot see what we can, which is that Beastie has completely forsaken knights. He hasn't even upgraded them. He has one early knight, and that's literally it. And now Beastie, hard on the stone, hard into the TC boom. It looks like we might get a trip TC build here for good reason. Because of what Eric has done here, he doesn't have fluidity across the map. He's now stuck reacting to these pocket ecos, these sacred site caps, and probably is going to lose out in the relic game very clearly due to the lack of monastery anyway. This means that BC should be able to cycle for 3 to 4 relics in this game and probably cycle up to 3 TCs without much pressure coming to his base because Eric's composition right now is heavily reliant upon crossbows. The issue of which is you don't have a way of breaching structures. See those crossbows now moving in, spearmen chasing. These horse archers are going to start to pepper down. Need to be careful, those horse archers have less range than the crossbows. But the issue that you're going to see for Eric as this escalates, as this Castle Age goes on, is he doesn't have cheap warrior monks, and Beastie does. And if there's something we've been learning very quickly, it's that healing is becoming a big part of this meta. Or such as pinch for the time being, but the issue that's always existed is how cheap these units are, how efficient. 120 resources for what it gets, the mobility, the damage it puts out, is so worthwhile. You can see 13 damage, 85 health, much quicker than all these static infantry units. Means he can always pursue and always weave away when the fight looks bad. Eric is kind of in for a penny, in for a pound. When he retreats, he's either sacrificing something indefinitely, or if he tries to give pursuit, it's wholly reliant on Beastie for getting to move away, which I can guarantee you he's not going to do. I actually love that people are getting experimental like this, by the way. We're 50 minutes in the game, and we've got two incredibly different approaches to the Rus. I do think Beasties are superior. I don't think enough changes have come in to really enable what Eric is trying to peddle here. But I love that he's just trying to iterate, right? Not just, I have this build and I'm committing to it. It's the way he's reacting to the game state as he sees it. One big area I would highlight that Eric could improve upon, and I think this kind of came into play a little bit, but not as much in the last game against Marine Lord, is the vision game. He's losing the vision game entirely. You can't play a static force like this without vision, because the risk is that the raiders will just flank and outmaneuver you and go after your eco time and time again. And that's why you do see these walls at least going up, but Eric definitely still has an exposed flank left side. Now that he's built into the TC, expect this to get walled up soon. But for the moment, he has to come out and fight because all three sacred sites have been capped by Beastie. Luckily for Eric, Beastie did not set up a wooden fortress on the northern side here. So it should be a quick, easy decap for the Orange Rus. However, it might cost you a little bit. You can see the Warrior Monks and Horse Archers marching forward. And the Spring... wait, Eric? No. This is not the commitment. Get out. Get out right now. Dangerous game he's playing there. Should not even be going in range for a second. Brace coming out. Warrior Monks. A weird throwaway by Beastie. Not really benefiting from the Saint's Blessing at all. Did at least get rid of all the spears, and this is where you can mop up the crossbows. The crossbows are going to have to run away. Yeah, kind of a weird fight there. Beastie has to remember that these Warrior Monks take a long time to build. It's 45 seconds. It's kind of actually interesting. I did expect that to be a change, by the way, is that with a lot of different religious buildings having the build speed on monks reduced to 30 seconds, I was very surprised that that didn't happen to the Rus. Now, before anyone was like, you're an idiot, Pigeon, that would be broken. What the hell you think? No, chill. I think Abbey of Trinity should have been 45 seconds still because it's a 50% discount. It's already so good. What I'm suggesting, what I'm proposing, this should have had the same treatment that Delhi Scholars got with the Dome of Faith. Where, hey, you know, the benefit is you pay less, but it takes longer. But a normal monastery will build them in 30 seconds. And I think that's balanced because we're talking about a unit that costs 240 resources compared to 150. And sure, it's more tanky. Sure, it can be faster. But, like, I wanted some upside for monasteries. I really did. I wanted a fair upside, and I think that would have been a fair upside. Speaking of upsides, looking towards his upside, Beastie is teching up, and Eric is nowhere near ready. And this really is the creeping effect. There's relics. He got 4 in the end, right? Also, consider the efficiency in the army trades. You know, these warrior monks, even they only cost 120 resources. The horse archers, 120 resources. And they've been killing a lot more. In fact, if we look at the military count, we can see Beastie is up by 8 kills. And Eric also did sidestep in the siege workshop. That's 300 wood. On top of that, you want the trebuchet, another 750 resources. You're starting to see where the cost of an Imperial Age is at. And that Imperial Age is going to come out for free. Eric in no position to do serious damage here. One trebuchet will not allow a quick siege. He'll at least be able to siege his way through this wooden fortress, though. A few more troops are going to be sacrificed. Consider the cost associated with this. So this wooden fortress is 175 wood. In fact, pause that thought, as there is a fight underneath this wooden fortress. A bad fight for Eric to be taking here. He's sacrificing a lot of troops, and this is not good for Eric. BC wants to waste the army for a good trade, because he wants to transition. Look at what BC's now building. Wait, what? He's actually doubling down on them. Wow. I'm a little bit surprised by this, but it does kind of make sense. With the amount of precision, he'll have more range to the crossbows. He'll have more damage. I expected BC to make the Streltsy transition because I've seen him do it so many times, but I actually want to applaud him for this. I think this is actually better. The issue with the Streltsy transition, for those wondering, is that it's really, really slow. If you rush a tech up like this and you rush Streltsy, you're basically trying to lose the game. Because it takes 35 seconds to push Streltsy. And usually when you rush a tech up like this, you only have 4 to 5 archery ranges max. That's not enough to build a premium unit line. You need the horse archers as a median. And that's why I like that he's actually upgrading them and leaning into them for the moment. And alongside that, prepping a transition into the veteran horsemen, soon to be elites. So we've got a little bit of reprieve, at least for a second. Let's talk about what's happened in these wooden fortresses. So what I was trying to highlight is that BC paid 175 wood. He then paid an extra 175 for the Springald, and then extra 75 for the arrow sleds. So in total, he's paid 425 resources. Think about the actual direct cost association for that. A spear costs 80 resources. If you kill 6 spears, you've paid for the tower. He definitely killed at least 6 spears in the back and forth here before, right? The Springald emplacements, the damage done. It's kind of an interesting way to think about the game. Now, there is kind of this weird, shaky path you have to apply because, remember, we're talking about stone cost and gold cost. These are limited resources, much more limited than, say, wood, especially at this stage of the game, and food. But it's still, at the end of the day, at this stage, around 20 minutes in, you're not thinking about the finite resource logic. What you're thinking about is the villager investment logic. I spent this many villagers to get this resource. This resource trade didn't favor me. Therefore, my villagers were wasting time. That's the problem that you have there if you're Eric. At least an upside he has is that he's now decapping the sacred sites. Problem is amounting quickly, though. As BC, you can see the upgrades now coming out. We're talking 15 damage per horse archer, 120 health, as well as having that extra tower range now over the crossbows. Not only are we now talking about a unit that has 50% more health than the unit that Eric has, it also does more damage. It's going to be a tough fight. Eric needs a transition, and it's going to be a transition into Castle, into Imperial Age himself. Curious to see if there'll be a switch up. He could go for a few Mangonels to try and counter out the horse archers and still rely upon a static push force. It's not the worst idea, considering he has now walled himself in. But he does need to make a move soon, because the issue he's got is he's now completing a tech up. Beastie has already been teched up for 2-3 minutes. All the upgrades are starting to be realized already. I guess the other issue is if you've ever watched how Beastie plays the game, which I'm sure Eric has, he knows how this guy plays. We've seen how BC plays. We know what this is when we see the horseman coming out. This is the frustrating style BC likes to engage in. The logic here is that he's going to try to wrap the horseman in the back of the base and draw Eric's army there. If Eric has to react with his entire army, or even half of it, with them all being foot soldiers, it is going to cripple him. Because what will then happen, the next step, is BC will move forward in the front line. And he'll push the territory claim towards Eric's base. And he's pushing it right now. Horse archers backstepping the spearmen, do advance. And a keep going to go up before BC can do it. Eric had the same idea. They're fighting over the gold. Finite resources is the race. Last of spearmen about to push themselves over the edge. There's none left. They're going to fall down. Crossbows are going to back up, but enough time might have been bought. However, BC quickly racks on the north side. He can snipe the villagers down, and that's exactly what he's looking to do. Movement in here. Crossbows engaging. BC, the slower keep build, is going to shift around to the south side. He might still go for the build just to block out the gold, but he won't be able to get the gold himself. But he will get the dub in the army trade. A lot of crossbows, a lot of spears going down. Still plenty of horse archers remaining. BC, remember that behind this, he's continuing to stack up those horsemen. Horsemen count now up to 15. Eric, look what's happened here. Eric has stopped building spearmen. This is a problem. Notice that Beastie did not involve the horseman in the fight. He's hiding his hand. Transitions are dangerous, but transitions are strong. If you can actually mask your transition until you reach critical mass, you can beat your opponent in one foul punch, and that's exactly what Beastie's looking to do here. Look what else is coming. It's not just going to be the horseman, it's going to be knights as well. Knight sabers, upgrade to the Castle Age knights, and Eric all in on crossbows, going back for knights himself as well. And also, the other thing to consider here is that Beastie is playing an entire mobility-based comp. The logic is actually pretty sound here. He's playing against a static force that can't react. He's now lured him into a false sense of horse archeriness, which means that Eric isn't going to counter the other types of cavalry with spears. And on top of that, Eric's going to get double count, because not only is he going to be up against horsemen that counter out his crossbows, those same horsemen are also going to get bonus damage against siege. Siege that Eric is relying more and more upon, as you can see him now going into the Mangonels, upgrading the Springalds, getting into more traps. Eric still playing a very blind game of AoE. Beastie marching north side. This is a damn good fight for him to take right now. Mangonel shot coming out. Beastie actually stands his ground and wraps around. Horseman quickly pinch here onto the back line. Trebuchet and Mangonel go down. Springald, I don't know what it's doing. It's trying to make baby Springalds with a keep. Would be the tankiest Springald if that could actually happen. Meanwhile, main army's being cleaned up. A bad fight coming out here for Eric. Loses the siege, loses the main army. Military pop cap is neck and neck, but not for long here. The crossbows have to dive in ever deeper past just to try and bait the horsemen in range of the spears. And it looks like maybe Eric will have a few standing troops after this, but the big detail to me is the loss of life on that siege line, as well as now a loss of life with the villagers. Villagers that do not have textiles, yet are playing midfield. And this also might be the point of transition. BC is still going to invest into the horsemen and the archers, but you can see now the knights are starting to stack up, and the knights are going to be the difference maker here. Eric needs another transition. Bombards is an interesting idea, but considering you just saw horsemen, a risky one. Keep drops could actually solidify his control here. Love this play by Eric. He's now focusing around these sacred sites. Notice he's got one to guard on the west one, and now one around the central. He's looking for a win condition that relies on BC having to come to him. If he forces fights around the sacred sites, BC can't wrap like this, like he likes to do. Round the backside with the horsemen trying to torch through the wood walls. In fact, I do believe I see a potential gap there, so we'll have to keep an eye on that, see if BC will be able to make his way through. But for the time being, he's going to torch his way through. Actually love what he done here. Pulled a few horse archers with the horsemen so that you can't just repair on the other side. However, he is going to get pinched by Eric's guard. Behind this, a second wave is building up for Beastie, though. Beastie is going to get pinched. Looks like the entire cavalry battalion is going to be going down. No way to stop that. Too many spears here. Good block in by Eric. But slightly out of position now. The question is what BC can do with this, because an issue with BC's comp is it's all raid. Everything about it is I dive in and do something. There is no slow crawling. There is no kill of defenses. There's no gradual pace past the keeps. He needs siege. Siege that he's now prepping for. In the meantime, new wave of horse archers is going to start to make their way forward. We'll discover the keep. This is where BC will have to reset a little bit. With the wooden palisades going up, it's going to be very difficult for him to play around the east side now. If you can potentially find a way to weave in here, though, and draw some attention back with 10 or 11 knights slash horsemen, it's going to be effective, though, because Eric's going to take double the time to arrive there. And I think that's exactly the intent here. You can see BC posturing east side. He is walling himself in, and this is going to give him the flexibility, the malleability to go on the flank without worrying about being dove into his base by Eric. Meanwhile, Bombard is going to get access to that west side. Eric needs to claim this territory because right now east side is no man's land while west side is being exploited by Beastie. This is his colony, and this is inflating his numbers right now. And Eric, he never repaired. Uh-oh, this ain't going to work. The horse archers make sure it doesn't work. He's going to try to build some walls up behind it, but remember the tower range advantage that you now have. The rush, and he blocks the wall going up. Eric with a critical error here. He never repaired the walls, and he cannot react with the army quick enough. You can see them coming in, but it's too little too late. The knights are in. The horsemen are in. The horse archers are in. The whole cavalry line is partying in the back of Eric's base. Beastie got his move. And with this maneuver, now Eric has to go all the way back to his corner. He can't posture in the front line. And this is going to be the double-pronged assault. BC is going to do economical damage back here. He's going to delay the arrival of Eric's army in the main fight in the center. And that main fight will now happen in the next minute. Expect a build-up. You can see the bombards now wheeling out as BC looks to stake a claim in the center of the map. And Eric's defense force is nowhere to be seen. Dive round to the backside. Plenty of villages to pick apart and so many knights to do so with. That's going to be an absolute massacre. But BC, they're your people. You're both Rus. No, not my Rus. Butcher a few, run out to the west side. He can still weave around this. You can see now Eric has to be on point with the formation. No line being used, actually. And more eco being sniped as BC will weave past the spearmen. And once again, snipe a bunch of villages. Eric is getting royally screwed here. 153 eco to 94. And this is BC in a nutshell. If you want to know why this works so effectively, why we always see this with him up at 150 eco, it's because of the way that he plays his military. His military is undoubtedly smaller than Eric's. But yet Eric, with double the number, is taking too long to clean these up. What BC does so effectively that allows him to get rid get away rather with a hard pop cap of around 150 villagers is that he plays the backside of his opponent's base. If you get lured into this, if you get dragged back there, it doesn't matter that you have a military advantage. Because by the time you clean up this rapid cavalry units of even knights or horsemen that we see him build that's becoming a signature so often in these late game situations, he's already built a new line. And in the meantime, that extra 50 villager force has been taking away finite resources in the mid-map. This is the strength of Beastie. This is where his power lies, and it's where many players fall victim. Eric's mistake here was not repairing the walls. Eric's mistake here was not layering the walls twice over. It's a mistake that he's going to pay for again. We highlighted this earlier, and it comes into play. The gap in the wall. Eric, once again, about to do a dance around his base as Beastie's in with a second wave. Eric! It's Benny Hills. He's getting caught not looking every time, and every time he doesn't look, it's just a punch to the nuts. Beastie about to double him up in the villager department, 155 to 88. Beastie is looking great. And Eric has no choice but to go in. Now the horsemen might suck at first against the spears, but keep in mind that it's the defense force for Beastie, and also now he has the opportunity to transition inside his own base. These bombards just do not die quick enough. The spearmen are not able to dispatch them. The static defense is going to be too strong. Eric throwing away his army, but doing so poorly in comparison. Think about the eco damage done by one player compared to the other. So far, Eric has maybe sniped 10 villagers max. Beastie has easily taken out 40. More than that. And this is looking pretty tough for Eric to come back from. The only way I can see Eric now recovering this is if he double layers his walls and quickly plays down the center. Issue of which is there's like not much to play down the center for. You've still got these gold veins, sure, which are contested, but keep in mind the flanks don't offer anything anymore. Like, Beastie has gained such an advantage off of playing flanks that Eric is miles behind now. In fact, if we look at the surplus, we can see, look at the gold, look at the wood. Sure, you can talk about food, but food is forever, guys. We're talking farms here. Farms that Beastie's going to get back on, and then that can go on forever. The details that are going to make the difference here are wood, gold, and stone. And Eric is losing in every single one of those resources. Those bombards back in the offensive again. Static defenses aren't going to last long. Eric in a bit of a pickle here. Likely to lose the high armory as well as his ability to push cheaper siege alongside it. Beastie now escalating. CGQT coming online. Now up to 5 bombards. Remember, he's only paying 800 resource per as well. Efficiency. And now another group of knights going around at the worst time for Eric as he's chopping through the tree line. He builds up a palisade wall, but that tree line is too thin. What's happening again? He's in again. Villagers could be struck, but Beastie wants to go deeper. In fact, yeah, leave a few knights here. They'll clean up these villages. Send them deeper. Look at the force to the south side, though. If Beastie sees this, which I think he might get all aggro towards it. Go after the villagers again. Eric in trouble once again. A wrap around the backside because Beastie understands what's going to keep Eric alive. He needs gold, and he needs it in mass. After throwing away the crossbows, throwing away any siege he had, this is all the gold he has. And he's going to be deprived of it again. The horseman reaction is just not good from Eric. Eric playing from behind. He hasn't even got them up to elite status yet. They don't hold for a moment. Villagers are going to go down, and Eric just looks like he's given up. And who could blame him at this stage? He has been torn to pieces by Beastie. Backside wraps time and time again. His downside. Honestly, Beastie wraps more than a Mexican fajita store. This is kind of ridiculous. I don't think there's a specific fajita store, but you get the point. This is just ridiculous. Beastie's just never being stopped from getting in. Whether it's small mistakes on wood lines or missed repairs or just simply leaving the front door open. Beastie is that vicious stray dog that came in and mauled all your pets. As Eric is now down at 66 eco. I'm surprised he's not waved that white flag yet. I mean, he's got a big military force, but it's just doing nothing here. He'll at least deny a keep going up from Beastie. And he'll try to march in now with the spears. The problem is there's already horse archers and bombards waiting to meet him. And yeah, looking back at this game, it comes down to a lack of double layering. For a start, if we really want to start at the beginning of the game, we can talk about this. The Kremlin was a peculiar choice that didn't necessarily gain much. following on from that, this high trade house wasn't optimized. He didn't use it for farms either. Following on from that still, Eric didn't double insulate his flanks. He played a static formation and didn't appropriately defend his flanks. That's why Beastie was able to take such a clear and dominant lead in this game. That's why now, although Eric finally gets the gist of it and understands how important horsemen are, it may just be too late. He's looking like he's got small boy syndrome right now. I mean, the eco is looking pathetic. The static defense line in conjunction with the premium units that are coming out from Beastie now may just be enough to now finish this off. Plenty more knights being built. You can see how fat that knight line is. In fact, look at the stable count. It's up to 16. And I'm pretty sure we have got Millie Academy at this point, which means it's not taking 35 seconds, only 26. Credit to him. I mean, this is signature Beastie. Let this be a lesson. Let this be a warning to anyone watching, trying to take notes, to anyone wondering how do you beat Beastie? What does he do so well that allows him to get so many wins? Manipulation of map. This is textbook Dry Arabia Beastie. Play flanks, suck resources, draw enemy army to the back of their base. If he ticks those boxes, the only box you're getting is a coffin you're going to be laying in. And I think Eric has finally realized that with no big wood supply left over, with no real army to stand their ground, with incendiary arrows coming through, that should be it. Eric having a rough day. Loss against Marine Lord followed by a loss against Beastie. Can Eric turn it around? We'll have to find out.